All right, let's bring her in. She is part of the Kidd Kraddick morning radio show here in Dallas on KIIS-FM. But most importantly, and why she is a guest on this very podcast today, she's a Swiftie. So much so that she is one of the hosts of the 13 A Taylor Swift Fan podcast. It is Ana Szabo. Ana, how are you?
Hi, great. How are you?
I'm good. Great to have you on. We have crossed paths a couple times in the past when I've come in studio and been on the morning show here in Dallas. And I knew at that time, you were a huge Taylor Swift fan. I knew you had a podcast dedicated to Taylor Swift. And with what happened last week in her appearance on the New Heights podcast, I felt it was time. We got to bring you on. We got to talk about this. But I want to first get into your background. I want you to tell everybody how this podcast came about, how long you have been a fan of Taylor. Just kind of give people an update about Ana Szabo.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Hi, I'm Ana Szabo. I'm what we call on 13. I'm a day one, Tay one. I have been a fan of Taylor Swift since Taylor Swift put out her first song ever. I had her CDs way back when in 2006. I used to ask my brothers to quiz me on the track list order when we were in the car. Just so that I could know exactly what track 5 was. So I've been a fan of Taylor Swift for as long as I can remember. But growing up, I was always so excited about new Taylor Swift music. And she used to hide little Easter eggs in her little like lyrical booklets. I'd get a pen, circle the capitalized letters, do all of that. But I never really had like a close friend that also loved Taylor Swift just as much as I did. And then a few years ago, at the Kidd Kraddick morning show, I had 3 coworkers, Nick, Lacey, and Amy, and they were also Swifties. And we would all show up to work and just immediately start talking about Taylor Swift's music and how much we loved it. And she would put out an album and we would talk about it for so long. So we decided at one point, it was Nick's idea actually. He said, what if we start a Taylor Swift podcast? So it actually lined up because we started the podcast in 2021 when Taylor started re-recording her albums. So when she released Fearless, Taylor's version, which that was the first re-recorded album, that's when we launched our podcast at the same time. So we've been doing it for 4 years now, which is absolutely insane. But it's great. The way that we do it on the podcast is we basically pick an album and then each week we go track by track. Every single week, we dedicate an entire episode to each song and we go in order. So for each episode and each song that we talk about, we'll talk about the lyrics, the music video, if there is one, you know, how we feel about it, what fans think about it, how it was received, how it performed on the charts, things like that, how it connects to other Taylor Swift songs. So it's been really, really fun. And so we started this podcast before the Eras Tour was a thing. You know, we were just barely coming out of the pandemic. And then when she went on the Eras Tour, she kept us pretty busy. So it's been really wonderful and it's been amazing.
Okay, wait a second here. So when you started this podcast in 2021, it is every single episode is just dedicated to one song?
Correct.
So where are you at right now? And you've started from the beginning. You're doing chronological, I'm assuming.
So
right?
When we started it, we knew that she was going to be re-recording her albums and we didn't want to break down an album if she didn't own it. So we haven't necessarily gone in chronological order. I'd have to check to see what order we did, but I think we started with Fearless, Taylor's version. And then we were going to start with the albums that she already owned. So Lover, Folklore. But then when we were doing all of that, that's when she released Red, Taylor's version, and then Speak Now, Taylor's version. So it kind of was in the order that she released her re-recorded albums. And then we would throw in the albums that she already owned when we had time. So currently on the podcast, we're breaking down her Evermore album.
I cannot believe that you can get a full episode. I mean, you also have 4 hosts, so obviously everyone's got a voice, but wow, that's incredible that a full episode is dedicated to one song and just breaking down the lyrics of each song. That is some fandom that is pretty far out there. I actually wanted to skip ahead to this because I saw it on your Instagram. I did not know this happened, but I saw it on your Instagram. I didn't look at the date of when it happened. When did Taylor send you a letter? What, huh? You got a handwritten letter from Taylor Swift? What happened?
Oh my God. Well, it was, I cry. Yeah. It's like my #1 pinned post on my,
Yeah.
on my Instagram, and I will never remove it unless I meet her in person. I've never met her. I've never met Taylor Swift, unfortunately, but when she released the Eras Tour photo book a few months ago after the Eras Tour ended, she sent a copy of the book along with a letter to the morning show. And it was a really sweet letter. It wasn't, I don't think it was like to me personally, like it didn't say, Anna, thank you for everything you do. It was just, I think it was with the PR package. But I did keep it and I have it framed. So
yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine JC or Al or Kelly was like, no, I want it. I want to put it up in my house. No, they're giving it to you.
They definitely joke about it though. They're like, oh, I think I'm going to take that home. So,
yeah. No. Okay. So going back to your Taylor Swift fandom, I need to ask, list the concerts that you have been to. How many have you been to?
So I had actually never had the chance to see her in concert until the Reputation tour in 2017.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I think it just like just because of concert tickets being expensive and things of the sort. Once I got older, I was able to go, and it was actually my boyfriend at the time, now husband. He had surprised me with tickets to the Reputation tour, and I cried. Best gift he ever gave me. And so I went to the Reputation tour, and then that was it. And then the Eras tour, well, I had tickets to the Lover Fest, which is what she was planning right before the pandemic.
One that was either going to be in LA or Boston, right? Those were the only two cities it was in?
Yeah. And I think I had tickets for the LA one, but then the pandemic happened, all of that. The Eras tour, however, I was very lucky to go 6 times.
You went 6 times. Wow.
I did.
Which cities?
I went the opening weekend in Glendale, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went twice in Dallas. I went Arlington night 2 and Arlington night 3. And then I got to go to LA a few months after that. And then because my husband loves me so much, for our wedding anniversary, we went to Europe and we went to see Taylor in Ireland, which was incredible. And then after that, back in the States, I was lucky to go and see her in New Orleans as well. So 6 total, which is great because she kind of kept changing the set list and changing the tour as she did it. And so I got to see every variation of it, which was amazing.
So when you guys were planning your honeymoon, did you know he was planning it around the Ireland stop for her tour?
Yeah, well, so with the morning show, our vacation schedule is pretty much set because we can't necessarily take time off because we're live every morning. So every year we have a week off in March for spring break and a week off in July, and then 2 weeks at the end of the year for the holidays. So we knew that our honeymoon would be that week in July. And we knew that we wanted to go to Europe. And when I got the email about tickets to see Taylor going on tour in Dublin, and my husband is part Irish, so I brought it up to him and I said, hey, I know this is crazy, but what if we go to Ireland, go see Taylor, we can explore Ireland and then make a whole trip out of it. So we ended up also going to London. We went to go see the Chelsea football stadium, which is like his favorite soccer team. It's like my Taylor Swift is like Chelsea soccer to him. So we got to do both of those things on that trip, which was perfect. Okay, so I've actually seen more concerts than you in terms of different ones, just not as many. So you're basically at 7, right? Once you saw Reputation and 6 Eras? Yes. Okay. I've seen 5 total concerts. I saw 1989 at Staples Center when it was Staples Center still in LA. Now it's crypto.com. And then I saw 1989 here at AT&T. Incredible. Who was our special guest in 1989? It was Love You Like You Do. Ellie Goulding, right? Yeah. Yeah. That was the singer I got for 1989. Reputation I saw in Denver, and then I saw again at AT&T. Now that I think about it, if I'm not mistaken, the Reputation that you can now, well, maybe it's off streaming, but when it came out on streaming, it was from the Dallas show. It was her last U.S. show. Mm-hmm. That's the one I was at for Reputation. Yeah, That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Were you there at that one or no?
I was at the one the night before.
Night before? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I thought that was, when it came out, I was like, oh my gosh, the one I went to, the last stop on her tour, was the one that ended up being the one that's on streaming. And then I saw the Eras tour again at AT&T. And yeah, so I've seen 5, but 3 albums. You've seen 7, but 2 albums.
Which one was your favorite?
Gosh. You know, that's like asking someone to choose me who's their favorite child. Okay. I've had this debate with my niece, who has gone with me to all 3. Well, she didn't go to Eras, but took her to 1989 and took her to Reputation. Gosh. I think Reputation had the best open in my eyes. I thought that was the best open for any of the 3 that I went to between Eras and 1989. But overall, I just don't think, and I'm fearful for future concerts by her, is that how in the world is she going to top Eras? I just don't know how she can top. She basically just has to do the same thing, is 3.5 hours with minimal breaks. Like the Eras tour was unlike anything that I had ever seen, even though Dallas was, I think, the 5th city. So we were very early on. I saw it. You said you went to the final 2 nights in Dallas. I went to the first night in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
I want to say March 31st was the date of the one I went to. And again, I had seen so many clips online of people that were there in Glendale and the cities that she performed before she came to Dallas. But it's still, you know, you were there. It was just a different experience to be there, to witness it for 3.5 hours. It's still on my highlights on my Instagram of me screaming at the top of my lungs for all the songs that I recorded myself. Yeah, it was, I'd say Eras was the best one for me, but trust me, I loved 1989. The memories that I have from the 1989 was great. And then seeing Reputation in 2 different football stadiums, I thought was great. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how I could top it. Same for you, Eras tour?
I mean, yeah, like is like you were saying, it's impossible to beat. Absolutely insane that she did it. And I don't know what she's gonna do in the future. I don't know if she's gonna have to do something completely different or what, but I mean, I had to go 6 times because it was so good.
Trust me, what happened was, for me, is I was not on the list, you know, that day the tickets came available and Ticketmaster crashed and people were like, I literally clicked on my tickets. I had 2 in my queue. I hit checkout and I got booted. Like, I wasn't even that. I bought them off, you know, StubHub. I bought off third party. And what I did was I initially found somebody, I think just through my website. I threw it out there like, hey, I'd like to go see her in another city before she comes to Dallas for the Eras tour, or even after. I think I was just like, I'll see her after or whatever. So I got fairly cheap tickets and I bought them for Nashville. And I realized, you know what? I can't make the Nashville because they jacked up the hotel price. Like, it was another like $1,500 a night to even get a hotel that night in Nashville. And that weekend, because I wanted to make a weekend of it. I was like, I'd like to see her somewhere close. I'll fly to Nashville. And it was more about the hotel. So I sold those tickets to a friend and used that money from those tickets that I sold and used it to purchase AT&T here in Dallas. Yeah. So I did that. And then I realized, you know, Nashville was, I think, about a month, maybe 6 weeks after Dallas. And that was the Nashville show. The Nashville tickets that I had showed tickets to was the one that was literally, they had to clear out the stadium and everyone had to hang out in the concourse for 3 hours because there was lightning and a full storm in the area. And she didn't start the concert until like 10:30 or 11. So she went to like 1:30 in the morning, whatever it was, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's the one I would have been stuck at if I did keep my Nashville ticket. So I'm almost glad that I didn't. So yeah, again, we could talk about in-person concerts. Are you able to break down what your favorite album was? Can you go 1, 2, 3? I'm not going to say rank all of them. And it doesn't mean if they don't make their top 3, you don't like the album, but how do you do 1, 2, 3 in albums for her?
Gosh. that's even worse than asking my favorite child. And I don't
Yeah.
even have kids, but like,
Yeah.
gosh, honestly, I feel like I have favorite albums for different reasons, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like, oh gosh, this is really hard. I like have to really, really think about it.
Because
I
you
feel
feel like if you say something is not number one, you feel like you're cheating on that album. Like, but I love that album, but I just didn't have it as number one. But I
I
get it. Trust me.
know. I guess like I guess I'll tell you 3 favorites for different reasons, not
Yeah.
necessarily like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I have always felt really like I guess emotionally and nostalgically connected to Speak Now. I think just because I was in high school at the time and it was like so lovey-dovey and magical and enchanting and all of that, and listening to Speak Now just kind of, I don't know, brings back that nostalgia in a way. But oh gosh, I think, oh, this is so hard. Oh my god. The Tortured Poets Department, I think, is so masterclass insane with her lyricism. And so okay, I told you that on the podcast we spend basically an entire episode for each song. So the Tortured Poets Department has 31 songs. So we spent 31 weeks on the Tortured Poets Department on my podcast. So that's like deep, deep, deep dive. And I could talk about that album for 31 weeks, quite literally. Because I think that it's so fascinating to me because Taylor Swift, you look at her during the Eras tour, she is the global superstar that she is. She goes on stage every single night. The Life of the Showgirl, we're about to get that. But the Tortured Poets was basically like a look into the mind of the world's biggest pop star. You know, so when she was writing that album, the fact that she incorporated into the Eras tour while the Eras tour was happening, like that goes so far beyond artistry that I have so much respect and love for that album. And maybe it is because I just spent 31 weeks talking about it on 13. And then I think I just also, I loved the Midnights era, the Midnights album, the Midnights era, that the Midnights, the 3 a.m. tracks, I think those are so good, like so solid. I loved all of that. I'm also emotionally attached to Red because I went through my first breakup when Red was out. So like that was, you know, how could you not? So yeah, I think different albums for different reasons. And I feel the same way about songs. Like when people ask like, oh, what's your favorite Taylor Swift song? I'm always like, well, today, you know?
Well, that was going to be my next. Now, look, if you were to ask a consensus of Swifties what their favorite song that Taylor Swift has ever put out is, I would think that, not that you would get a majority, but if you polled all of them, the highest percentage would probably land on All Too Well, I think.
Yeah, that was the first one I thought of too when you said that.
Yeah, and trust me, for me it is. And I don't really have any sort of emotional connection to it. I just think the song itself, whether it's the 6-minute version and then when she re-released it to be the 10-minute version, again, I it's just a feeling, I guess, that it's just a kind of a perfect song. And I think actually when the 10-minute version was released, I think the video that came with it, I thought really enhanced why I liked that song. And then seeing her perform it on SNL as well. I don't know. There's just so many things about that I just will always be into that song. And I think seeing it live when she played it at AT&T during the Reputation tour, again, absolutely loved it. Screamed my head off for it. And yeah, I'd say that's up there. But if you were to ask me on albums, here's something that I could readily admit to. You're a much deeper Taylor Swift fan than I am. I got hooked on Taylor Swift basically on 1989. So I am a late comer. I know the names of the songs of her earlier albums, but I can't say those run through my head. And while I have a lot of her albums on clearly there's more songs in my Apple playlist than any other artist, and it's not even close. But I don't have Fearless in my Apple playlist. I don't have Speak Now. I don't have Taylor Swift. It's basically from Red on But 1989 is probably the first, since it was the first album, that's probably my number one album, because wasn't that the first poppy one she really went to? Or was Red kind of poppy-ish?
Red was kind of like a small transition into
pop. It was the
transition.
Kind
of had like the country pop, but 1989 was like full send pop, and we referred to that as the pop Bible because it was just like perfection in an album, in a pop album.
There's no bad. I mean, you could say. I mean, some people will say like she doesn't have any bad songs, but really, for 1989, I just don't think there's any song on there that I ever get to, and I'm like, next. I just listen to that album. I can't skip. What was the album before Red?
Speak
chronologically.
Now.
Speak Now is before Red, and that wasn't very poppy at all, right?
It had no. I mean, yes and no. Like Speak Now had the song Speak Now. Enchanted is on there. Dear John, that's the slower one. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's like a full pop album.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and be like, there are certain albums where I'm like, I think this one is underrated. I've always thought Lover doesn't get enough credit. I've thought Lover is an underrated album. It's an album that came out. Wasn't it during the didn't it?
It was right before. It was in 2019.
Right before, and she was set to. So it kind of got lost in the shuffle because the pandemic hit, and she couldn't do a tour for it. Like you said, she was set up to do this Lover Fest in Boston and LA, but it all got canceled because of COVID. And I felt like the album itself just kind of lost its luster, and because people were dealing with so many other things in their lives. But if you go back and listen to Lover again, a bunch of bangers. But then I love Midnights. Midnights comes out, and I'm like, maybe this is an underrated album. So
I know with each one, I'm like, oh my God. And that's the thing too, when she announces a new album, and like even The Life of the Showgirl, as soon as it would announce, pre-order, done. And I mean, I'm a like diehard fan, of course. So like, yeah. But sometimes people are like, well, how do you know you're going to like it? Like, how do you know that you're going to like the album? Like, why did you already order it if you haven't listened to it? And I'm like, well, the thing is, I've never not liked a Taylor Swift album. She's done 3-4 genres now, like country, pop, alternative. And she's never failed to me. Like I have my playlist, my Spotify playlist. It's called Taylor Swift for Me, but it's actually just her entire discography from start to finish. And I just hit shuffle and I just listen on shuffle. So I'll go from Cruel Summer to All Too Well in one drive, you know? So it's great.
Yeah, no, I think with her and with me, I'm not gonna say anything negative, but when Evermore and Folklore came out, to me, after listening to basically 3 poppy albums that kind of had some bangers on them, but they did have bangers on them, she really slowed it down for Evermore and Folklore for me. And to me, I'll be honest, when she went to Evermore and Folklore at Eras Tour, it's when I went out and got my drink. I just was like, this is where I'm going to take my break and go out and get a drink. And not that I don't like the songs, because there are some really good songs. I just felt like after coming off those poppy, upbeat bangers, it was too dreary for me. Although there are some good ones.
Yeah, you're more of a pop girly. Totally cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a 50-year-old man that loves literally teenage pop songs. I've seen Katy Perry 4 times. Yeah, I've seen Katy Perry 4 times. I saw her at AAC a couple weeks ago, or not.
That's awesome.
And yeah, that type of music, Firework. It's like, yeah, I love that stuff. And I saw Katy Perry twice at her Vegas residency.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I was going to get into this in a second because I saw this on your Instagram as well. So you had this thing where I think it was someone asked you, or maybe you came up with it. Your friend said, "What is your 90 and 35?" So I want you to explain to everybody what your 90 and 35 means and what your song is.
Yes. So your 90 to 35 is basically, so 35 being the speed limit, right? When you're driving and the speed limit is 35, but whatever song comes on, you get so engulfed in it that you are going 90 without even realizing it. So it was like a whole trend about like, what's your 90 to 35? Like where you basically get so lost in the song. It makes you so happy that you would get pulled over instantly. Yeah, my 90 and a 35 in the realm of in the realm of Taylor Swift, I mean, like I said, I put her discography on shuffle, but I think any songs from Reputation, I think would be like my 90 and a 35. Like if I hear Ready for It, Endgame, any of those, I'm like, whoa, how did I make it to my destination? You know, what would be yours?
But on the video clip, you said it's your non-Taylor Swift song was Kesha's.
My non-Taylor Swift 90 and a 30 was Kesha.
Your Love Is My Drug.
Yes, there's something about that song. Like I had that Kesha CD. I think it was Animal or I think Animal was the name of the album. I had that CD in my car when I first got my license. So I actually did go 90 and a 35 to that song.
Those Kesha songs, TikTok, Your Love Is My Drug, absolutely are on my playlist. Her newest stuff doesn't do it as much for me as those, but yeah, even back in the day, even Avril Lavigne's stuff back in the day, like that's the kind of stuff. Why am I listening to this? I'm 50, but I absolutely love it. So you asked me what my 90 and a 35 would be. Gosh, I should have probably thought of this, even though I knew I was going to ask you about it. I should have said, should have had one prepared for myself. For Taylor, oh, you know what it would be? I can tell you right now what it would be. It would be We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. That's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it'd be. Because that would be, if you ask me my top 3 Taylor Swift songs, and again, if it doesn't make the top 3, doesn't mean I don't love it tremendously, but you have to, like you said, ones that have meanings and certain things like that. Never Ever Getting Back Together, I think, might have been the first radio song I ever heard of her. And I heard it on your station. I heard it on KIIS-FM. Yeah. And whatever year it came out, I just remember hearing that. And I'm like, wait, who is this? Because this song just hits. And then, I listened to the end because I wanted to hear somebody say who the singer was, and it was Taylor Swift. And I'm like, okay, this is that Taylor Swift girl that everybody's talking about. Because that was, that was Red, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Red. So that's in my top 3 just because it was the first radio song I heard. All Too Well, for the reasons we discussed. God, what would be my top 3? What would be my other 3? I guess I'm going, to use a gambling term here, chalk, which means a favorite. I'd put Lover in there. And I don't have any particular reason for putting Lover in there other than it's such a different type of song. And I just heard it so much. It was used as a background song so much, I think, on TikTok a lot, that there's my reasoning. Like I heard it so many freaking times to where I was just like, yeah, that I really like this song. So yeah, Never Ever Get Together, All Too Well, and Lover. Like, excellent. Yeah. I'm not going deep into the weeds with her because those are very popular. I'm like picking out all of her popular songs. I'm not.
No, totally valid. They're popular for a reason.
If I were to give you, I'm not going to do it because I don't have the albums pulled up in front of me, but if I were to say like track 9, Speak Now, would you be able to answer it like that?
No, I could tell you all the track 5s across her albums.
Why just the 5s? Or you just happen to? Is there did she have an Easter egg about those or something?
No, I'm so happy that you asked. I'm happy to tell you. So. Okay. Track 5s across Taylor Swift's albums are always the most emotionally driven songs on the album. So All Too Well, that's track 5 on Red. So in her first album, her debut album, that song was Cold As You. It's a great song. You should go and listen to it, especially since we don't have Taylor's version yet. If you go and listen to it, it's like high-pitched Taylor. Yeah. Cold As You, great song, great lyrics. And then when she put out Fearless, track 5 was White Horse. And at that point, her fans, like early fans, were like, oh, this is a pattern. And she didn't even realize that, like, I guess it was just a coincidence. And then I think for her third album, Fearless, Speak Now, track 5 is Dear John. And then Red is All Too Well. So then she started making it a pattern also. So now when we get a Taylor Swift album, track 5, we, like, as fans, know that is the most emotionally not necessarily saddest, typically yes, but like track 5 on 1989 is All You Had to Do Was Stay, which isn't like the saddest song, but if you look at the lyrics outside of the pop tempo, it's a really like emotionally driven song. So
Yeah.
with her new album that's coming out, we got the track list for The Life of the Showgirl. Track 5 is called Eldest Daughter. Haven't heard it yet, but we already know there's going to be some emotion behind it. So I could tell you that, I guess, and I could probably tell you the opening songs. Like I could tell you track 1 across the board. But if you were to say like, oh, track 11 on this album, I don't think so. But I'm going to study just in case it ever comes up.
Especially with Torture Poets Department, 31 songs. Granted, it was split up. They're not labeled 1 to 32, are they? Oh yeah, they are. They are labeled 1 to 32. It's not 1 to 16 and then 1 to 50. Mm-hmm. That's right. They are labeled. All right. So let's talk about the New Heights podcast and what we saw last week, which is pretty fascinating for what happened. And when you first heard, because on Monday, Jason and Travis teased it, and the silhouette was clearly Taylor. It was their first show of their new season. It made the most sense. And then we kind of knew it was going to be her. And then I think then either later on Monday night or Tuesday, they literally confirmed because they were showing, partial clips of it. So when you first heard that she was doing it, in your mind, how long did you think it was going to be? How long did you think that she was going to be on that podcast for?
The episode? I think I just assumed it would be like a standard like hour and a half.
Yeah. And she ended up doing 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah. And it felt like 10 minutes.
It was 2.5 hours. Hour and 45 is when the feed cut. And then I think 3 or 4 hours later, they added the last 45 minutes of it. I actually haven't listened to the last 45 minutes. Can you give me an update on what she said in the last 45 minutes that I may have missed? I watched it from live once it went live until the feed cut. And then I just figured it was over. And then I saw online, Jason posted, hey, the last 45 minutes are up now. I just never went back and listened. Was there anything in there that I need to know?
I mean, I think I was mostly excited for her to talk about her new album. And that was all before the feed cut. After the feed cut I'm familiar with New Heights. I follow them on social media, so I keep up with like their clips and stuff. But this was the first time I ever listened to a full episode. But they do something at the end of each episode where they do kind of like rapid fire questions with their guests. So they did that, but they talked about like cats and like Jason is going to get a cat and, silly kind of things like that. And she was just like, oh, thank you for having me. Like, I would say that the bulk of everything was in, you saw it.
In that first hour and 45. Yeah, I was fascinated because this is a woman that is so protected and so protective of her own personal life because she's had issues. She's had issues with stalkers in the past. And that's not the reason why she hasn't been on a podcast, but she just doesn't, of all the men that she has dated in her past, whether it was a Jonas brother or Jake Gyllenhaal or Calvin Harris or Tom Hiddleston or Joe Alwyn, I just can never remember a time where she sat down and did an interview. Clearly, she's never done an interview sitting next to one of them. We know that. That's never happened. But even if she's been asked by media, hey, how's it going with Joe? I mean, she was with Joe for 6 years. I don't remember the word Joe ever coming out of her mouth. She might reference the fact that she was in love and things are going great, but she never said, Joe and I did this. Joe and I went here. The other thing is she just doesn't do a lot of interviews, period. So outside of Miss Americana, to see her sit down on a podcast for 2.5 hours with her current boyfriend and just be chill, cool, Taylor Swift, I just feel like we'd never seen anything like this before from her. Agree?
I definitely agree. And I think that's why I loved it so much. I think you could just tell that she was really comfortable. I think in general, in the grand scheme of things, when these celebrities, when they do interviews, a lot of times, things that they say get taken out of context and turned into a headline and things like that. And she's been such a victim of that, especially during, right before the original like Reputation era. And that's kind of why she stopped doing all these interviews. So for her to do a sit down interview with Travis and Jason, who she's very clearly comfortable with, she knows that she trusts them, right? She knows that they're not going to edit her in any kind of way that makes her look bad or use her for clickbait, like that kind of thing. I think that just kind of like speaks volumes. And I also think, I don't know her personally, obviously, but just from like listening to her music and anything that she has put out artistically, to me, as a fan, I feel like Travis gives her such an insane amount of confidence that she hasn't really had before. Like, at least that we as fans haven't seen before. And so to see him just like uplift her throughout the entire interview and like, like be so proud of her when she's talking and things like that. Like, that was really, really cool to see. But I think you could just tell she was really comfortable in that space.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Travis is a guy that, just comparing Travis to her other boyfriends. It's really interesting because, look, when this first started, I did not have a lot of hope for this because, number one, really? He has never dated anybody like Taylor Swift, and she's never dated an athlete, as far as we know. She's always been into musicians and actors, and he has dated a particular type of woman, and which is fine. Everyone's got their own dating preferences. And I'm weirded out by the whole athlete thing. Athletes don't have a great reputation when it comes to staying monogamous. So that always worried me with her. But it was clear as it went on. I was like, wow, she is really into him. My concern has always been him because he's an athlete. And I'm am I stereotyping? Absolutely. But I've been around locker rooms. I was in sports radio for 9 years out of college. I know how these guys function. And it was just, okay. But then again, when you're dating the most popular woman in the world, you really have to be an idiot to think you could get away with some sort of infidelity because every single move that Travis Kelce does is being watched now. Maybe you can get away with it if you're just dating a random, like Travis's ex-girlfriend that he was dating. She wasn't anybody super famous, but you're dating the most famous woman on the planet.
Eyes are on you.
Again, if he gets caught, then we can just all say, man, you are one of the biggest idiots in the world to think that you could get away with infidelity on Taylor Swift, right, of all people. So I was a little concerned about that. But again, we've never seen her sitting next to anybody. We've never seen her talking about, yeah, Jake and I did this, or Calvin and I did this. It was never a thing with her. And when I sat there and watched Travis with her, it made me think, God, and like you said, very uplifting to her, very supportive of her. And it made me think, since we know nothing about Jake and Calvin and Tom and Joe, I wonder, were those guys, and we don't know, this is a kind of a rhetorical question, but I wonder, were those guys basically just jealous of her success, or did not know how to, maybe not jealous, but did not know how to deal with her success? Because anybody that Taylor Swift is in a relationship in, she is more popular than. You can't find me another man on the planet that realistically, age-wise, and makes sense that she wouldn't be the more famous person in the couple,
Yeah.
I wonder if guys like Joe and Jake, just how they reacted to her popularity. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And I definitely agree. And I think you can kind of hear that in some of her lyrics and some of her songs. Like, I always go back to the song Peace. It's on Folklore. And that song, she's basically saying, am I enough if I can never give you peace? Like, all this fame and everything that comes with me, am I as a person gonna ever be enough for you? Because that's something I'm never gonna be able to get rid of, And I think it's so different with Travis because I think a lot of the times in her past relationships, exactly what you said, like, it was almost like, I don't know if it was like these men were like threatened by her level of success or they didn't want her to be more successful with them. But since they were almost in the same field of music and artistry and entertainment, Travis being an athlete, being in a completely different industry and a different world, it's like she's at the top of the entertainment game. He's at the top of, his football career. So you have these two powerhouses, but in different fields that they can just uplift each other without that like weird jealousy that she might have faced with some of her previous relationships.
And now that I think about it, my fear of them in the long term when they first got together might be the reason that they actually work, because he is clearly not someone who is jealous of her success and actually promotes her success and wants her to be successful. And I'm not saying that Jake Gyllenhaal was trying to bring her down or Joe was trying to bring her down, but we don't know anything about those relationships outside of maybe subtle clues that she has left in songs. But I mean, she was with Joe Alwyn for 6 years and none of us knew a damn thing about their relationship other than, paparazzi pics if they were walking around England holding hands. And that's just like, I can't tell anything about What are they like behind closed doors? I feel like after 2.5 hours, we know exactly what Taylor and Travis are like in their private time together, behind closed doors, on a Friday night, watching TV. I feel like we know that now, and we never knew that with any of hers. We know more about her and Travis than we do more about her and every ex-boyfriend combined because of that interview.
Yeah, I agree, and it's comforting to see her so happy.
No, I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest takeaway from people is just like, wow, she looks happy. And yeah, she does. And I look, I'm starting to come around because when I first heard about it, it was 2 summers ago. I was like, okay, this is a PR stunt. They're clearly going to date for a little bit and he'll break up with her when the season's over. But now we're here at 2 years. So it's like, okay, and then watching that interview, I'm like, okay, maybe he is a little more serious about this. Again, the athlete thing will always be in the back of my mind. I know that she's head over heels for him. That I've been able to detect. He's the one in this relationship that I've always been worried about because I've stereotyped athletes just having been around them and been in locker rooms before. So, but again, he's dating the most famous woman on the planet. So I just don't think he'd be stupid enough to try and stray and try and think he can get away with something.
He also just seems very, like, he values so much in like his family and his brother and his mom. And, like I feel like he's just, I mean, I only ever got to know him as a fan when he started dating Taylor. I'll admit I was unfamiliar with him before that. But to me, he's always come off as like a very like golden retriever type of guy,
Did you know he had a dating show, Bachelor Style, back in?
I found out about it. Yeah, like what was it, Catching Kelce? I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but I've definitely like seen clips of it on social media.
Yeah, and it was awful. And he comes across as a total stereotype jock player in that show. And I saw a few episodes and I'm like, this is just so dumb. But it was also 6 or 7 years ago. Like, look, I don't think Travis Kelce has been this saint in terms of women and dating. I just think maybe he finally got to the point where enough of running through a bunch of women and having different women every 6 months or whatever, I have finally found the one to settle down with. It's very, very possible that, because I know for a fact this guy was playing the field like most athletes do early on when you have success and everybody wants a piece of you. But now I think he probably has gotten to a point where it's like, all right, now I'm in my mid-30s. Maybe I don't need to be doing that anymore. And, let's pray that is the case. All right, so let's talk about the 3 topics that came mostly from the New Heights podcast, which is, number 1, do you think that there is going to be shade thrown at Blake Lively in any of these songs in The Life of a Showgirl?
Maybe unpopular opinion, but I actually don't.
Neither do I. Well, put it this way. I don't think she's been so subtle her whole career. When she takes a jab at somebody, it's in a lyric and she's not labeling a song Ruin the Friendship and it's all about Blake Lively, which people seem to jump to after that, after the release of the titles of the song track. I'm like, you really think this woman who has curated all of her shade very, very subtly is going to just write a whole song about Blake Lively and you ruin the friendship? I can tell you right now, I don't know the lyrics to Ruin the Friendship, but there's zero chance that's about Blake Lively.
I agree, because even when I first heard the title Ruin the Friendship, I took that as more of like a friends to lovers ruin the friendship, like a like more of like a sexy love song type thing. I didn't even put it together with the whole Blake thing until people were saying that online. But I just don't think that she will, because even though everything has been happening with the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, all of that, and sure, Blake did drag Taylor into that, she's also like the godmother to Blake Lively's kids. And I just don't think that she would make this whole, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think she's better than that. So I don't know, but I could be wrong. Maybe there is some, again, we haven't heard the lyrics. We haven't heard anything about it, but she also said that she was writing this when like on the European leg of the Eras tour. And I think the timelines don't necessarily line up. Yeah, I'd have to check some articles and stuff, but I still haven't assumed that there's anything about Blake in it, but I guess we'll find out.
That's the thing that I heard the same thing, and I'm like, I'm not going to go check the timelines, but if that's the case, if she was writing The Life of a Showgirl during the European leg of her Eras tour, I don't think anything in the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni case had happened. That basically came out right around a year ago. It was basically a year ago. In August or September of 2024, basically when the movie was released, was when that stuff happened, and the leg was before that. So yeah, it might not even make sense that way. And has she taken subtle jabs at exes in songs? Sure, but this is more of a legal matter. I don't know. I don't see that she's going to stoop to that. Even if things are bad with Blake. I mean, we hear sources and people reports like they are not friends anymore. They do not talk. Taylor is upset at her for dragging her into this. Again, it's all sources say. We have no idea. Blake's never addressed it. Taylor's never addressed it. Who knows if they will? But I don't even know if they are friends or not anymore. Well, I mean, do you have a feel either way?
I mean, I think publicly there's definitely been some distance, I guess. But again, like you said, like we don't know them. And even if she does feel like she was dragged into all of this, if she were to put a song about it, it would just make it worse, you know? So I don't know, but I could be wrong.
What about the second point that came from the New Heights podcast that everybody just assumes is a thing, which is the Easter eggs that she threw out in that interview that lead people to believe that she is going to be the halftime show of next year's Super Bowl? First off, do you know the answer if it's been confirmed? Obviously, I've heard it online. Was Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, her 47th stop, her 47th tour stop on the Eras Tour? Have you ever been able to confirm that?
I myself have not fact-checked that, but I did see that. I guess I just took everyone's word for it, but I haven't. I guess I'd have to go look at the count.
Yeah. So obviously she said 47. She said, thanks for the 47-second intro, Jason. I think she even said 47,000 at some point. So immediately people said, oh my gosh, the 47th stop on her tour was at Levi's Stadium, which is where Super Bowl 60 is in February of next year. And then the whole number 60, what was the 60 reference? There was a 60 reference.
60th Super Bowl?
Yeah, but what she said in the podcast, she's mentioned something about 60 in the podcast. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's the 60th Super Bowl. What was the 60 reference that she made?
She did. What was it?
I talked about this and I totally blanked on it.
And you know what? I'm sure I could find it because I have my podcast notes, like not only a few.
Gosh, what was it? 60. She said 60.
Definitely have it. Oh, she said that she thinks about sourdough 60% of the time.
Yes, sourdough 60% of the time. And Sourdough Sam is the mascot of the 49ers who play at Levi's Stadium. That's another one. Yeah. And you can take 47, which she mentioned a couple times, and add it to her favorite number 13, and we're at 60. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's all very plausible. I think it lines up.
Now, for you who might not know how the NFL announces their halftime show, Dear Kendrick and Lamar performed. What the NFL does is they announce who's performing at the Super Bowl end of September, beginning of October. So we're going to know in the next month who the halftime performer is. So it's like we can speculate all we want about the Easter eggs and what Taylor said in that interview. We're going to have our definitive answer in a month. Either all those people are going to be like, wow, you guys were really good, or it's going to be like, yeah, all that stuff you were talking about means absolutely nothing because she's not the halftime show.
Hey,
but NFL announces early. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So you'll know end of next month. But here's the thing. Another thing that could possibly lead to her being the halftime show is they announce it end of September, beginning of October. Well, what's coming out in the beginning of October?
Crazy.
What if, I mean, it could be simultaneously the day her album comes out. It's like, oh yeah, halftime show, Taylor Swift, Super Bowl 60.
I mean, I feel like there's something poetic about it because it's Travis's 13th season. Like,
oh God.
What, you know? And I feel like even to me, like one of the biggest points of her maybe doing it is sure, the sourdough, the 47s, all of that. Absolutely. However, she has declined doing the Super Bowl for the past like 10 years or something because she said that she wouldn't do it until she owned all her music. And now she does. And to me, that's like the number one, okay, maybe it is possible.
Now, here's the thing as a fan of Taylor Swift, like of course I'm going to tune in if she ends up doing it. But what's going to be really frustrating, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, the halftime show at the Super Bowl only gets 13 minutes. And geez, there's that number again, 13. You only get 13 minutes. So Can you imagine if Taylor Swift gets this, the absolute speculation that'll happen from the time the announcement is made until that game happens? What from her catalog is she going to throw into a 13-minute set? Like, it is going to be, no, she's going to do this. No, I bet you she does this mashup. No, she's got to get this in. Like, how do you, if you're Taylor Swift, I almost feel like 13 minutes, she's going to have to plan 4 or 5 months in advance for a 13-minute performance. And I don't know. She's, put it this way. If she did do it, it's going to be the most watched Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls. It'll be the first time that the halftime show is probably talked about more than the actual game itself, because she will trump anything that comes, you know, when she's the halftime show feature. This is what everyone will be talking about. I'm just sitting here going, I don't know if I want just 13 minutes. I'm going to be like, damn it, that's it? I want another hour. Like,
put on the Eras Tour movie.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what? I'm going to watch the second half. Let me just put on the Eras Tour movie. Exactly.
It would also be really interesting to see the viewership drop after the halftime show.
It would definitely, I mean, the spike would happen at halftime because you're getting all the fans. And then you're getting the Swifties that maybe don't even care about the game. We'll put it this way. If Travis isn't playing in the game, they won't care about the first half. And then the spike will happen when all the Swifties come in and join at halftime, and then it'll go back down. I mean, it is, look, the NFL needs her to do the halftime show more than she needs to do the halftime show, because normally the other thing that could turn it off, but could work as a positive, I don't know if you know this, halftime performers are not paid by the NFL. You're doing that out of free promotion for yourself. She doesn't need to promote herself. She doesn't really need to promote. It's not like if she doesn't do the halftime show and no one's going to buy, you know, The Life of a Showgirl, right? It's like she doesn't need the promotion. But everybody that does do it, even though they don't get paid to do the halftime show, literally sees a giant spike in their past. It might even be, you know, a nostalgia factor. You know, Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem, when they did the Super Bowl 2 years ago, totally spiked, and they, you know, they get all these new downloads of their songs that have been out for 15, 20 years, you know? So does she need it? No. So that's where there's a part of me that's like, why would she even want it? Because she's such a perfectionist. She's going to want to do the best halftime show ever produced, and she's going to get 13 minutes to do it. It's just like, I don't know if that's worth it to her. Yeah. But we also know now by listening to that interview, she's kind of into football now. So she actually likes it. And maybe it is like, you know what? I've done everything else. I've accomplished everything music-wise, concert-wise. What's the other biggest stage in the world that I can do something? It's the Super Bowl. It's the most watched television show every year. So now I'm almost leaning towards like, I kind of get it if she would do it. Before I was like, no, she wouldn't do that. Now I'm thinking, I could see her doing it, you know?
Yeah, so. I think she would want to do it. Like you said, she doesn't need to do it. If anything, they need her more. But I think that if she were to do it, she would do it for the legacy of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think she wants to be not just like the best artist of our generation. She wants to be the best artist of all time. So I think that she wants to have, you know, the best tour that the world has ever seen, the best records, the best albums, like all this stuff. And the best Super Bowl halftime show would just be another accolade that would be part of her legacy.
This is literally something that I think would just be a bucket list checkoff for her.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to do this, but just to say she's been on that list of performers, because there's only been 59 performers that have ever done this, and a couple have repeated, so I guess less than 59. But yeah, I mean, I figure at some point in her career she's going to do it. Does it make sense? And the thing that I brought up to you the other night is, you know, the problem is she has to commit in September, and we won't know until 2 weeks before the Super Bowl if Travis is playing in it. It's whether or not the Chiefs get there. And then I think that would kind of ruin her experience, because the one thing that I think we have seen is she does like football now, and I really think she enjoys being up in the suite, hanging with his family, his friends, her friends. I think she enjoys watching the game from there. And if Travis happens to make the Super Bowl at the time that she's already committed to the halftime show, she's going to be under the stadium for the whole first half. She's going to have to be watching on a monitor. And then she's got, after the halftime show, she's got to go in, change, probably shake hands, kiss babies, She's going to miss a lot of the second half. But she has to commit early. That's the thing. So I was like, well, maybe she wouldn't do it until Travis is not an active player anymore, because the NFL would still want her. It's not like she's not going to be relevant, in 2 or 3 years. Like, she's the most successful artist in the history of music, I think, based on
agree.
based on album sales, tour sales. I don't know about album sales because maybe the Beatles did more or whatever, but tour, I mean, a tour, right? Eras tour is the most successful tour, money-wise, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing, does she do a residency in Las Vegas? This is something that I was like, again, Vegas needs her way more than she needs Vegas. And there are pros and cons. One of the pros might be, hey, she just did in a year and a half, 149 shows in however many cities it was, in a bunch of different countries. A residency, she doesn't have to go anywhere. You just hang out in Vegas for however many months. She doesn't have to worry about getting on a bus and going here or flying here. So maybe that's appealing to her because she just did a world tour, but it only seats 20,000, the Sphere. She just did 149 shows where every show was 60,000 or more. The tickets will be minimum 5,000 a piece to get a ticket at the Sphere to see her. Let's just say she did. And the tickets, and you couldn't get any radio hookup tickets or anything like that. Would you pay $5,000 to see her at the Sphere?
You know what? Years ago, I don't know when it was. Years ago, I knew that when Taylor Swift announced a tour, I guess this was maybe after Reputation. I think it was during COVID. During COVID, I knew that the moment Taylor Swift announced a tour, I needed to be ready. So maybe this is gonna sound crazy, Steve. I started what I call my Taylor Swift concert fund. I save money to be able to be ready for when that moment drops, But if she were to do a residency at the Sphere, I will find a way to be there.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be ridiculously expensive. I mean, we know towards the end of the Eras tour, nosebleeds in a football stadium were running 1,000 or 1,500 in a 20,000 seat arena, where I'm not saying the focus isn't on the music, but to be at the Sphere, I don't know if you've seen anything there yet. Have you been to the Sphere or no?
No, but I've seen videos on TikTok.
Yeah. It's more about kind of what the event we were at the other night. It's basically Cosm, but bigger. It's essentially what it is. It's just the visuals and the acoustics are unbelievable there. But the visuals while the concert is playing is what people are pretty much watching the whole time.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's something you can put in the pros list for her possibly doing a residency there. Is, what's her album called? Life of a Showgirl. What is Vegas about? Showgirls, showmanship. Yeah. Like it's the city of lights. It's where her album, all those 4 different album covers that she did, and her showgirl outfits. Like, it's almost like maybe she is hinting, "Hey guys, I'm going to Vegas and I'm doing this." But gosh.
Yeah, I also think that she could really do, and we've talked about this on 13 before, even just with her discography, I feel like she could do some sort of full-on musical, like a theatrical musical production. Kind of like, like Mamma Mia does like the ABBA songs, things like that. And even now, Max Martin, all of his songs are in like And Juliet on Broadway and things like that. We've always felt like there could be an entire musical with Taylor Swift music. And when you think of the Life of a Showgirl being so theatrical, I almost feel like she could do a musical with the Life of a Showgirl, where it's more than just a concert, her and her guitar, dancers, things like that, but like actually like a full-blown show. So I'm not gonna put anything past her, but I'll go on the record and say it just in case that happens.
Yeah, you can't put anything past her, because anything she does is going to be in such demand wherever it is, whether after the album comes out, she announces, "Hey, in 2026, I'm going to go tour again." I feel she needs to take a little more time off. She did a year and a half and 150 shows almost. Like, I can't see her coming back in 2026 unless she is just that committed. But it almost seems like a residency would make more sense because she doesn't have to do any travel. She doesn't have to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I got, 150 shows in all the different countries had to have taken a toll on her physically, even though she made every show. although there was a cancellation because of wasn't there a stabbing, or was that I'm mixing that up with something else?
Oh, it was like a whole like bomb threat situation.
But yeah. So maybe this is what she needs at this point. Like, hey, I just did a major tour. Now let me do something where I don't have to go anywhere. And I just, gets, not that she would have to stay in Vegas on all the days that she isn't performing, but residencies work weird. You basically can do like 8 straight weekends of Thursday to, Friday to Sunday, and then take 2 or 3 months off.
Mm-hmm.
Football season off. Take off September to December. Yeah, I'll be back in February and stuff like that. She dictates what she wants to do. If she comes to anybody and says, this is what I want to do, nobody would be stupid enough to be like, you know what, Taylor, no, you're going to do this on our terms. It's like, really? Yeah. No, I'm dictating, because nobody would be stupid enough to turn her down for anything. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see. I mean, October 3rd, Life of a Showgirl comes out. We're all excited. Lyrics haven't leaked for this, right?
Not that I'm aware of, or if they have, I haven't seen them. But I also don't want to look at them. I know sometimes in the past when things have leaked, I stay away. I'm not going to let it ruin. I'm not going to let a leak ruin my experience of a Taylor Swift album.
But once the New Heights podcast came out and she released her title tracks, that had been released like a day or two before, right? Somebody had got it out there, and it was out there about the title tracks.
Probably. I know the day of, like the day that they announced that she was going to be the guest, the at least title of the album had leaked, The Life of a Showgirl, along with a few other things that were wrong. So it's kind of like hard to tell, like, but
I feel like I saw something on TikTok where somebody said, oh my gosh, Opalite, Elizabeth Taylor, like before Wednesday happened. Yeah. I'm almost positive, because I think I sent it to somebody. You know what? Full stop. 100%. I sent it to somebody on TikTok that's also a Taylor Swift fan on Tuesday, and it was a rundown. Somebody, I guess, had taken a screenshot. It could be somebody that works in the music industry, because it was an opening and they were able to read it, of all the songs. But then when I went the next day on Wednesday, that video had been taken down. So maybe her people got out to people who were posting this and saying, you better take this down.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, I absolutely did know that on at least Tuesday. That TikTok I saw might have gotten out on Monday. I don't know, but it was either Monday or Tuesday. The 12 song titles were out there, and I just was like, but when I sent it to my friend, I said, no idea if this is real or not. We'll find out tomorrow for sure. And it ended up being, those were the 12 title tracks. So,
oh wow, okay,
yeah. So, and I didn't want to be spoiled. The spoiler guy myself, I didn't want to know, but I saw it, and I'm like, I guess I'll read it. It's not, giving stuff away. It's like, okay, whatever. I wouldn't, if the lyrics got leaked, I wouldn't want to see the lyrics either.
Yeah, it's different than like, Bachelor, like all of that. That stuff I do seek it out. I do seek out those spoilers, because that's like so different. But Taylor Swift album, different.
Is there any song on this upcoming album, just by the title, that you are the most giddy about, even though you have nothing to base it off of? There's one that you're just like, I think this could be this. That's why I'm most excited about this song.
I think I'm most just looking at the track list. Like I said earlier, track 5 being called Eldest Daughter. I'm very intrigued by that. I am the eldest daughter in my family, so I fear I will relate to it. But also she has a song called Actually Romantic. And I don't know why that one really sticks out to me. Like, I have a feeling that one's going to be my favorite, just based off vibes, for no reason whatsoever. Yeah,
you have nothing to base it off of, because lyrics have not been released. But again, this is going to be, I'm sure when October 3rd rolls around, the very next day, we're going to hear something that Spotify releases where it's just like, Taylor Swift has set the record for most downloads, most minutes listened to in the first 24 hours. Like, it's going to just break the internet, just like that interview did last week.
It's gonna smash, that's for sure.
Anna, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we could talk Taylor Swift for another 2 hours if we needed to, but you could check out her podcast. It's called 13, a Taylor Swift fan podcast. A Taylor Swift fan podcast comes out every Tuesday, but you'll throw in occasional extra bonus episodes if there's breaking news, like last week.
Yeah, and we call those episodes Swiftie, like Swiftie, but TEA.
Yes.
So those are our special Swiftie episodes. But yes, every Tuesday, so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I could also of course, keep talking Taylor Swift anytime.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to connect with you back when the album comes out, so I want to know what your favorites are and all your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'll be listening to it the second it drops. So again, Ana, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.